noon and this evening. We're going to go to the U.S. Forest Service here coming up in about just a minute. They're going to be giving updates on those wildfires in northeast Minnesota that have been impacting them, of course, and much of the state. The rest of the week is looking warm, might see some patchy smoke. We'll begin to get a little bit cooler, though. Hopefully the start of next week. Wednesday of this week, highs in the upper 70s. Thursday, highs in the mid 80s again. It's 1 o'clock. This is NPR News live special coverage. I'm Nina Moini. In a moment, we'll take you to Ely, where reporters are gathered to hear the latest update on the wildfires in northeast Minnesota that have been burning. More than a dozen fires are currently burning, more than 60,000 acres in and around the Boundary Waters Canoe area, roughly the size of Minneapolis and St. Paul combined. Firefighters and other staff have traveled from across the country to respond to the situation. We're expecting to learn more about how crews are prioritizing their efforts to contain these fires and about the closure of the Boundary Waters Wilderness, which is entering now its second week. So we're going to hear some updates from federal and state agencies on the closure and some of the burning restrictions that are going on in the area. Plus, a government meteorologist is going to share some details on how the weather forecast could impact the situation. And of course, we'll learn more about air quality as smoke continues to reach across the country. That's going to be coming up in a moment from the Superior National Forest Office in Ely. We've got reporter Matt Sepic there for us right now. He's in the room. He's been there for a few days along with many of our other reporters and crews, and he is in the room for us now. I see somebody at the microphone. Not sure. Oh, okay. Well, they are getting set. They're getting everybody ready, setting up their microphones. But this is the story right now. It's impacting much of the area. Firefighters, again, coming in from all across the country. We just talked to some of the crews on our program about what they've been experiencing. Lots to deal with in terms of the remote nature of some of these fires, trying to prioritize, obviously, the safety of people, the safety of people physically, the safety of their homes. We know this is impacting many communities along the North Shore as well, communities really all across northern Minnesota and, of course, into Canada. So it's been quite a week or so in the area. Many people are just waiting to see what's going to be next. There have been some more evacuations that have happened in recent days, and there are some people who are again going to be waiting to be able to return to the areas where they live and see what's going on there. But it is something that we've had crews on, and we know that every day they've been doing these updates at 1 o'clock, and we're hearing from a variety of people. They've really been stressing how it's really a partnership between, local, state, federal authorities. So coming up today, it looks like Joy Van Dree, who is the public affairs officer for the Superior National Forest, she's the one who's been sort of running these news conferences for us every day at 1 o'clock. So we're going to hear from her. And then the first thing on the agenda here is a fire status, a summary of operations. So again, these are incident management teams that some of them are national members that are overseeing all of this. They're going to be giving an update on just the status of these fires. Again, around 60,000 acres. For perspective, that's the size of Minneapolis and St. Paul roughly together. So huge, unprecedented fires here. Then it looks like we're going to hear from Tom Hall, who's the agency administrator for Superior National Forest. We're told he's going to be giving some updates on the forest closures and the BWCAW permits. They've closed the BWCA for activity for people going in and out of there like they usually do to enjoy their time until at least Friday. So through July 24th. So they could give an update today on the status of some of those closures and what they've decided based on what they're monitoring very closely. Then it looks like we're going to be talking about fire restrictions. This is going to be with Kurt Westerman from the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, the Minnesota DNR, talking about, again, it's just been so breezy. It's been so hot. It's been so dry. And they're calling these fires, again, unprecedented, which has just been really difficult. And they've really been all hands on deck. So let's join Joy Van Dree now at the Ranger District Office there in Ely.
We're good?
Okay, we see Joy at the microphone here.
All right, it's a little after 1
There we
o'clock.
go.
We can start rolling. Good afternoon. We are up at the Ely District Ranger's office, our Queechway District Ranger's office, and for our daily not daily, but our update for today. Last time we did this was on Friday, and so we have sent out our daily update this morning, and we're at about 63,000 acres in the United States and an additional 8,400 acres in Canada at this time. There's about a total of 780 personnel on the fires, and we have 3 new fire starts were detected yesterday, with firefighters responding to all new starts. The public is being asked to support firefighters and public safety by adhering to evacuations, adhering to closures, and fire restrictions. We really are expressing our need for people to refrain from flying drones and aircraft in those areas. Fires reported on today may change as some fires have merged and have been in patrol status. So with our agenda today, we have several different speakers, and I'm going to turn this over to our first speaker, and he can introduce himself, and we'll get this moving. Thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is Shane Sturgill. I'm Operations Chief for the Southern Area Team 1. On Friday last week, Southern Area Team came in to take command and control of the fire. We were given 15 fires across the landscape. We're now seeing a lot of those resources that we requested starting to arrive to help do our efforts on taking care of these fires within the landscape. Some of the fires to the far west are looking in really good shape. We have some good control lines around those. Continue to use resources to mop up and patrol those fires. Those are some of the smaller fires, but still apparently, still of interest. We want to make sure that those stay where they need to stay. Moving over to the west with some of our larger fires, that's, on the footprint that's on the landscape. So we're looking within those areas. We have a lot of structures. We're doing structure assessment and structure protection methods, which means we're locating these structures, identifying needs, and most of those structures are within along the Echo Trail. We're working methodically from the Echo Trail south, identifying structures, placing pumps, equipment to bring that moisture within around those structures to help put that extra protection measure within those structures. Also with that, we are looking at doing prep on a lot of Echo Trail. Echo Trail is a long corridor. Most of the fire perimeter, the footprint is north of Echo Trail, and that's where we want to keep it. We do have one section south of Echo Trail that we have a lot of resources on. They are continuing to build line, do improvements on mop-up, and continue to monitor that situation. Moving across the landscape, we have several, with the campfire, we have several areas in there that has a lot of structures. Also looking at major infrastructure such as a hydro power plant, making sure that we have prep measures that's needed within that area to safely secure that power corridor. We have a lot of aviation resources that's able to assist us with water drops, and like they said, we've had a few initial starts, probably from the lightning that happened on Friday. We expect more of that throughout this operational shift. If you guys look outside, you see increased winds. That's definitely a danger for these fires to try to stand up and move. So we want to make sure that we're vigilant on what we're looking at with our controls on our lines, make sure they're staying in place. I want to bring up, a couple things on the evacuation stuff with the ready and the set. I would ask that folks start thinking, have a plan in place. Think about what you would want to take if you have to evacuate. Not saying that's happening, but be ahead of the game. Make sure that you're taking care of what you need. within your homes, and that way, if there is a need to evacuate, you've got what you need to make that happen. Think about where you're going to go, how you're going to get there. Those are very important. You don't want to be waiting until the last minute to be making those decisions. Be pre-planning. That's what we're asking. You're going to see a lot of firefighters within the communities. If you want to ask questions, feel free to ask questions of those folks. They have a lot of the knowledge on the fire ground. They're there to support the communities, and this is what we're here to do. We want to make sure that we keep folks safe. That is priority number one, life and property. So thank you for your time today, and I'll turn it over to the next speaker.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us and giving us the opportunity to speak. My name is Nick Petrak. I'm the Superior Chippewa National Forest Fire Staff Officer. And I just kind of want to elaborate a little bit on what the team did as far as fire activity, in particular to the east zone of our Superior National Forest as you move towards Grand Marais, and the initial attack activity. So as of this morning, we have a National Incident Management Organization team in charge of the Little Knife Fire. They are looking at some strategic planning and trying to figure out the best way that we can take direct suppression strategies on that fire. It is a challenging fire, just like all of these. It's located within the wilderness. We do have evacuation set up if we need to go any further than that. That particular fire we received from Canada. We work very closely with our Canadian partners. We have meetings daily at 10 o'clock to discuss any kind of strategies that the United States and or Canada may be looking at implementing. That team is very involved. They're just probably 2 days in, so we expect some planning developing quickly out of that. As far as initial attack activity goes, we're still under some very challenging conditions in regards to fire suppression. We work very closely with the Southern CIMT, along with our partners and the National Incident Management Organization team to ensure that we have the capacity and capability to take on any new starts. We kind of have to divide out in those duties since we are all actively involved in working on the ongoing fires and taking direct suppression strategies on any new fires. The forest has received quite a bit of lightning in the last few days. With the smoke that's sort of cleared out and our aircraft being able to do reconnaissance, we're using all our technology partners, aerial surveillance, in order to identify any new starts and prioritize those with the fire staff that we have on the forest. It could be a challenging day for us, but we do have resources dedicated to that mission to try to keep any fire as small as we can in conjunction with that team. Thanks for all your support. We appreciate it.
We're just going to try to fix the noise situation for those online by just shutting these doors really quickly. Thank you.
Thank you for bearing with us on the technical aspect of closing the garage doors. I'm Tom Hall. I'm the agency administrator for the Forest Service. For the Forest Service updates, really I want to say thank you to all the firefighters and all the great work that they're doing out on the fire line, whether that's here in Ely, over in the Cook area, or in the Grand Marais area as they're in the Boundary Waters. The firefighters are really the ones that are doing all the great work. We did bring in some additional support. That includes the Complex Incident Management Team, Southern Area CIMT-1, and we have the National Incident Management Organization. All of those are under a unified command between the state DNR and the Forest Service. They have taken command of their delegated fires and are helping to support our firefighters be successful out on the ground. Updates for the Boundary Waters closure. Closure is still in place for the entire Boundary Waters. We have canceled permits through Friday, and at this time we are assessing opportunities to reduce the closure in those areas that make the most sense. Right now we don't have a timing of exactly what that'll look like or when that will occur, but that is something that we're working on presently, knowing that those cancelizations through Friday sort of give us an initial clock of when we might try to make a new decision going into this next weekend. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Kurt Westerman, and I am the agency administrator for Minnesota DNR. I'm here to provide an update on burning restrictions. As of noon today, Monday, DNR has elevated the burning restrictions within Cook, Lake, North St. Louis, Koochiching counties, as well as a small portion of Itasca County to what we call our level 4 burning restrictions. Some of the changes that take place at level 4 is no campfires are allowed, and that includes on private property. It's kind of a quintessential Minnesota thing in the summertime to be hanging out around a campfire. Given the conditions, the resources that are deployed, and the conditions going forward, in order to protect life and property and to retain those firefighting assets where they are, we need to be able to control the controllables and limit the number of new starts that we have some control over. Obviously, we heard others talk about the lightning that has come through and new starts that come from that. Those we can't control, but these other, the reason for these burning restrictions are to control some of these other ones. So again, the big one is no campfires. Only gas or propane stoves can be used at campsites and or in the backcountry. So again, no campfires. And the only place that charcoal fires would be allowed would be in a device that's designed for charcoal fires, primarily, a grill or something similar, and it has to be associated with an occupied home, cabin, or resort. So those are those primary restrictions. In addition, there are some restrictions as it relates to acetylene torches and welding and flame-producing equipment is prohibited in the vicinity of combustible vegetation. And it was, just a reminder, it was, I believe, present at burning restriction level 3, but no fireworks are allowed outside of a municipality. That's a continuation, but just to reiterate that would be another potential human source. Any additional information that you would like to find, the DNR burning restrictions website will have maps associated that lay out the different restrictions for where a person lives or recreates to find out what those restrictions are. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Carrie Flegel, National Weather Service Incident Meteorologist, here to talk to you about what's happened not only in the last 24 hours weather-wise, but give you an idea of what we're expecting in the next week. So we did have storms develop mainly west and northwest of our fires of the July lightning incident. As they developed, they produced a few more lightning strikes, and then as they moved towards the arrowhead of Minnesota, it was quite a few lightning strikes. And totally over the fire, about 60 lightning strikes. And if you include the arrowhead of Minnesota and portions of southern Ontario, we are on the order of about 600. So as you guys know, it only takes about one lightning strike to start a fire. So definitely we're monitoring where these things have happened, and fortunately we're in a different place than what we were a week and a half ago. Not only did we have our first rain about a half an inch to over an inch over the July lightning incident, but even with our lightning that occurred last night, rainfall totals were about a quarter to a half an inch. Those higher amounts were over the eastern parts of the fire, mainly in the Fernberg area, so a little bit of rainfall with that. As we definitely noticed today, it was a change day. We have the wind to deal with. We have not had that wind over the last week and a half, but we have had a little bit of moisture. So beneficial moisture, but we increased the wind. Winds today primarily out of a westerly direction, and those have been on the order of 22 to 35 miles an hour. The strongest winds right now are over Cook. Those winds will continue through the daytime hours. Expect them to diminish only slightly overnight tonight and ramp back up tomorrow. The winds tomorrow are going to be out of the north-northwest, as we do have a secondary cold front coming through. Not only is that secondary cold front going to bring that wind shift for winds out of the north-northwest, but we will also have a little bit of drizzle. So not dry with this wind, but a little bit of moisture again. So that's what we're expecting tomorrow. Also cooler conditions for that Tuesday. Wednesday, high pressure builds overhead. It is our dry day, but much lighter winds. So we have winds today, tomorrow, and then dry high pressure for Wednesday. As we move on past Wednesday, additional showers and thunderstorms are possible. Right now, they're pretty low chances, but we're going to continue to revise that and talk to the incident management team about those chances, wind directions, wind speeds, so that they can make the appropriate decisions on where to put people, how to keep folks safe, and to successfully manage the fire. Just want to note that we're going to be back into the 80s all the way through like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That is above normal temperatures for this area, and we have a lot of fire weather season left. Normally high temperatures this time of year are in the upper 70s, and we're kind of peaking at our highest time, hottest time of the year, all the way now through August 15th. So a lot of heat still, a lot of severe or showers and thunderstorms activity, more of that lightning potential, and also, like I said, lots of fire season still ahead. Thank you.
Hello everyone, Josh Hall. I'm here supporting the incident management team and the forest forecasting air quality. The good news is a lot of the smoke, the massive amount of smoke that these fires generated about a week ago is finally starting to clear out. The last little bit of it been sitting over Wisconsin pretty heavily, and it's just now starting to clear out as these storms come through and this front comes through, and we're expecting significantly improved conditions. With the rain we had a few days ago, as well as what occurred overnight, generally we're not seeing a lot of smoke being generated from these fires, nor in Canada at this time. However, we do know these fires are going to be a long-term event, and so there is a short reprieve we're expecting to see from air quality over the next few days. However, our uncertainty is, right, we have a lot more wind picking up. We haven't had rain in all locations. If there's any new ignitions that do get going, there's always a potential for that to change, and so we're watching those conditions very closely. We're in close coordination with a lot of the state air pollution control agencies that are monitoring smoke and making sure we're coordinating our forecasts. But at this point, we're looking at some better days, especially up in Minnesota. And we had a public meeting last night that was really excellent. There were a lot of folks who showed up. And one of the messages we mentioned there is, now is the time to get ready if there is more smoke coming in the future. And one of the groups that was there last night, the Ely Community Response, that are at the State Theater in Ely, they have N95 masks. They have a bunch of filters and box fans where people can create their own way to clean air in their home. And so I encourage people to check that out, because there's a lot of folks in the community who fall in those categories that are particularly at risk for smoke. And just to remind people who those are, young, elderly, people with pre-existing conditions, pregnant women are all susceptible to smoke, and there's likely a lot of people out in the community that are suffering. And so this is a great opportunity to kind of take those mitigations. Thanks.
All right, folks, I want to come back up. I know we had some challenges with some of the communication, being able to hear online. So I'm going to talk about where we stand again today. So my name is Shane Sturgill. I'm Operations Section Chief with Southern Area Team 1. So as I mentioned on Friday, the Southern Area Team 1 took command control of 15 fires across the landscape. During that time, we identified resource needs. So we started requesting, pushing orders for those resources, crews, engines, aviation assets. So that continues. The fires to the west are some of the smaller fires, smaller in acreage, still very important. We're continuing with mop up and prep along those lines. Most of the lines are in around some of the larger fires over there, and we're continuing to build depth along the perimeter of those fires with mop up and patrol, utilizing water, utilizing aviation when needed. Moving across the landscape, we're looking at the Echo Corridor, the Echo Trail Corridor. We have large fires across the landscape, mostly in the wilderness, but they are trying to come south to Echo Trail. So our primary focus is in that area due to structures. There's a lot of structure assessment and structure protection. We're continuing to do that in those areas south of the Echo Trail Corridor and structures that are immediate within that Echo Trail Corridor. That work is ongoing and continuing. It's a lot of long hours trying to locate structures, one, assess them, and then bring in the proper equipment to make those structures safe and secure. That work's going to continue. We're also prepping along the Echo Trail to have that as our control line to help stop the spread of this fire. Our priority mission is to keep that fire north of Echo Trail. We do have one slop over that came a little south of Echo Trail on the initial push with those fires. We do have line around that slop over south of Echo Trail, and we're continuing to put the needed supplies, hose lays, pumps, crews in there, monitoring, making sure that fire's staying in place. Along with that, there's just a lot of structures within the area. We're methodically starting from Echo Trail and working our way south towards the higher populated communities. We do have a lot of aviation assets that are out looking for new initial starts, which we did pick up 3 starts yesterday. Crews were very diligent about getting on those and keeping those at a small footprint. With those fires, we're continuing as well to monitor those within our response area. We do have a ton of resources in here, and we'll continue to get a lot of resources in here. So I ask, if you're out in the communities and you see those firefighters, ask those questions. They have a lot of valuable information that may be beneficial to you. I want to talk a little bit about the evacuations. I know there's a large area where folks have already been evacuated. We do have communities and housing that is in areas that are in the ready and set. I ask that you start planning now. Think about what you might need to take, how you're going to leave, where you're going to go. Don't wait until you're in an evacuation to make those decisions. That's very important. We'll speed up that evacuation process. I know also we're looking at really critical infrastructure which could be impacted, and that is the hydro dam and the power supply there. We're going to continue to monitor. We're doing prep along that, working closely with the power companies. All right, that's all I have. Thank you, folks.
Hey, good afternoon. Try this for the second time. My name is Nick Petrak. I'm the Fire Staff Officer for the Superior Chippewa National Forests. Just to elaborate a little bit beyond the fire situation we currently have around the Ely and Cook and Crane Lake area, I'll shift my focus to the Little Knife Fire that's currently burning northeast of the Gunflint. That fire we received from Canada. It's approximately around 55 to 6,000 acres. As of yesterday morning, our National Incident Management Organization, NEMO team, took command of that fire situation. We're working diligently as a forest with that NEMO team, along with our international partners and county resources, to do some strategic planning to be able to really get a foothold on what we have going on in that particular area. Of note, we have daily coordination calls with our international partners starting at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we coordinate efforts and prioritize our assets to help reduce the fire threat in that particular area. As talked about, we're under some good fire weather, what I'd call it, for the next few days. Part of my position is to work with the National Incident Management teams, the Southern Area team, and the forest to ensure that we have initial attack assets available for any new starts. We've had quite a few lightning strikes in the last 48 to 72 hours. In conjunction with both teams and the forest, we're doing everything we can to ensure that we're on top of any new starts. We do expect a challenging day. But I have full confidence with the amount of resources we have from the city, county, state, federal, international partners that will jump on them and do everything we can to try to keep that footprint as small as possible. Mother Nature is not done with us yet. And I like to say that due to the lightning activity. So we are prepared if she throws a bunch more lightning at us, and we'll do everything we can in order to minimize the impact to the public and our firefighters. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. So I'd just like to wrap this up with a reminder for the Little Knife fire. We have a July 20th public meeting at the fire hall on the Gunflint Trail at 3 o'clock. Additionally, July 21st, we have a public meeting at the Lutzen Town Hall at 116 Caribou Trail at 7 p.m. Both of those will also be streamed live on our Facebook page. So please utilize our Facebook page to be able to, or any of the media outlets that are here and streaming. You know, this is very valuable information for you, which is why we're doing it on a consistent basis to keep you informed. We also have daily updates that you can access through our INCIWeb account. So just Google INCIWeb, and there's a little flame over Minnesota, and click in there, and all the incident information that you'd ever want to date. We just updated that this morning, so please make sure that you're keeping all of that up to date, and we appreciate your time. And I will open it up to questions now.
I have a question about the total acreage. I know on your news releases you handed out just now, it's just around 63,000 with another about 8,400 in Canada. That number, those numbers were larger in previous news releases. Does that mean, is that a revised estimate, or is that what's on fire right now and excludes what's been put out?
Right, so based on the, or you wanna handle that one? Sure.
Yeah, I can address that. So the question is, as of today, a little bit of reduction of acreage compared to where we had reported previously. So after these fires had moved through, we had a switch of winds out of the north, which really reduces our ability to fly reconnaissance in smoky conditions. So we really rely on satellite imagery, and some of that information is very challenging for us to interpret as far as heat signatures and various other technology we use. So in the last few days, we've been able to utilize some of our aircraft for some better mapping capacity. We've also been able to add tools to our toolbox to get more of an accurate size of exactly where these fires are. So that's a very common circumstance where we're refining exactly where the fire perimeters are. And so you may see some fluctuation here and there as we either introduce people on the ground, have the ability to fly aircraft, and utilize tools to bring us the most intelligence that we can to the current situation.
Can you talk about where those three new starts were, and were those ignited by lightning or by embers, or what you know the cause of that?
Yeah, so right now I believe that was determined that they were out lightning caused fires at this time. The exact area, I can tell you they're on the west part of the forest in conjunction with the state of Minnesota. The state, the county fire departments, and the Forest Service have all been on those fires, and we're doing everything we can in the monitor phase to make sure that we're taking care of those. In addition to that, while supplying firefighters to those fires, we have a certain amount of assets for new starts also. So as new fires start, the fire progresses, that's where all the resources that we currently have across the forest take action on at this time.
Is there starts with the lightning strikes overnight and this morning, or don't you know yet?
Yeah, so the question was there new lightning strikes as of this morning from the lightning last night? We don't know quite yet. So what happens is, as we get aerial recon over these fires, as the public reports them, that's something that we typically look at as soon as we can. So as of now, I'm not aware of an exact lightning strike that we can pinpoint as of this morning. Typically, we wait for aerial recon somewhere between the 1,300 and 1,500. Mark, because it's the heat of the day, the lowest humidity, and the wind. So we fly aerial surveillance. With that, there is a lot of aircraft movement working the fires that the CIMT has. So between their path from the airport to those fire locations, we have a lot of eyes in the sky in conjunction with our partners along the border. Nothing reported yet, but it's still early in the day.
Is there a way to tell if any part of this is contaminated or contained or not?
The question is,
Any part of the fire is contained or anything like that?
it's too early to tell. The question was, are any of these fires contained? I can tell you that we have a lot of people on the ground. The firefighters, we've allocated our resources to protect those values at risk, and they're doing everything they can with heavy equipment, saw lines, hose lays, to be able to get some containment on the map.
It was mentioned earlier that there were 760 personnel. Is that number going to grow in the coming days, and if so, by how much?
Okay, so the question was the number is 760. I believe a couple days ago we talked about the 500 mark. So that number I would anticipate to grow. Right now, once we get a handle between the Little Knife Fire, what the CIMT has, and for initial attack, we do have some additional resources trickling in. I would say it should go up a little bit and then probably plateau based on what we have, and we'll adjust accordingly with what the team has and what we have for initial attack to right-size our organization for what we have, what we anticipate, and for other national needs.
Have there been any injuries reported, or do you have any estimate on the number of structures that have been impacted?
I currently don't have any estimate on structures. I can say we've reported three minor injuries from our firefighters.
Could you give me more, how critical are these next couple of days with this wind, this critical fire conditions? I mean, is this kind of a crux moment with, the conditions and the size of the fires and the energy out there right now?
Yeah, so the question was, is this a crux moment in the next few days? So we definitely have challenging weather. We're not having as challenging weather as we saw last week with 100-degree temperatures, humidity's down in that 20% and lower, and winds. But as you're aware, it's very windy out. Watching the wind directions is extremely important for us. And I just want to reiterate, we're in July. These fires are going to be on the landscape for quite some time. August is usually one of our hottest months, where our burning period is extremely long. That's one of our warmer months. So we're doing everything we can for the next few days. We're hoping for precipitation just like everybody else. But I want to be clear that just because we get through this hurdle, we have a lot of fire on the landscape, and we still have a long season ahead of us. So from the forest perspective, the planning that we do to be able to get us through, let's call the later part of the summer and into the fall, and really a season-ending event, is going to be critical. I do expect fires to be present on the landscape for that long, and we'll just see what Mother Nature brings to us in August and in the future rainfall months.
Nick, you mentioned, sorry to jump in again, but you talked about the challenges of direct suppression.
Yeah.
Could you talk, is that because of the remoteness? And I guess a follow-up, are you sending firefighters out into the wilderness yet, or are those ground crews still focusing more like on the echo trail and the firm work?
Sure. So the question was the challenges of direct suppression. These fires are under a direct suppression strategy. It's very challenging based on where these fires are located, the fuels that are driving them. So as firefighters, we have to have lookouts, we have to have escape routes, and we have to have safety zones. Nowhere do we don't introduce firefighters into equation unless we have certain protocol for them in order to come out safely. Obviously, we have the public safety side of it. If we can safely put people into a location to size up and to do suppression tactics, that's what we will do. I want to ensure the group on this. But every situation is unique. And the fuel loading in some parts, depending on the wind speed for the day or the potential forecast, we got to make sure that we have a plan in place that we can extract our firefighters as safely as possible. We also do a lot of planning in case one of our firefighters were to get hurt. How do we get him or her out of a situation if we were to put them in that situation? So there is really no blanket answer. We will certainly go into the wilderness with our personnel, and we'll look for natural boundaries where we can reduce the impact both on the wilderness and from our firefighters' standpoint to utilize a natural barrier before we kind of introduce any type of hose lay in that. So it's a really tough question to answer, but that's the best I can give you at this point, Dan.
a question of Tom?
I've got a question. Thoughts on the start your meeting like that?
Could you say anything about, I mean, do you know if all people, all paddlers are accounted for in the wildlife?
So as we sort of talked about in the past, I'm never going to get to that 100%. We have actually noticed that there are some cars in some entry point parking lots. And so we're actually working with law enforcement officers to identify who they are and where they are. Whether they had previously exited and then re-entered, we are definitely dealing with that in this closure, knowing that not every area has a direct fire engagement right now. And so people are getting frustrated. People are starting to push those boundaries. Until we get to that point, we are still in that closure. And we are still assessing whether we're able to get everybody out because there is still that risk.
Do you know if outfitters have any plans out there still?
At this point, all the outfitters that we've talked to do not have any clients out there any longer. We did have some of that back and forth over the last week as we were trying to get everybody out, whether they needed additional support or that. We did help with a lot of extractions, especially within those first few days, and then helping the sheriff's offices track where some of those parties were to make sure that they did get out. One thing that Nick said related to lightning strikes and the question that you asked earlier of if we have lightning today, when are we going to start to detect that? And really, it could be a week or longer before we really, a lightning strike today, it could be that long before it really shows itself and then starts to move on that landscape. And so we are diligent and we are going to continue to monitor the entire forest as we continue to get these storms that come through with lightning. There was a question online.
Yeah, so
So I'm understanding there's a question online about our aerial resources and what missions that they may be doing. So currently using IR, you guys heard us talking about IR, we're looking for those heat signatures in along the perimeter of these fires. We identified some heat that was along what's called bear trap fire. We also identified some heat within that Sioux perimeter. So when we do that, we utilize aviation to go in to deliver water. It's a water delivery system where they'll come in, they'll put more moisture on the ground. So that's what our aviation resources are being utilized at this time. It's also, we use them as a lookout. They're up in the air. They can see broader areas where our firefighters down in the timber can't. So that helps us detect those lightning starts, those new starts. The starts we had yesterday were probably from lightning on Friday. So like they were saying, they're holding there. So having that aerial detection platform helps us identify where those areas are. From there, they can help guide the resources on the ground to go in and do that good work. So any kind of aerial resources we use for water delivery, we always follow up with crews to, once those aerial resources are clear, the crews go in and look at what other mitigations we need to do. Thank you.
another question online. Having the Southern Area Incident Management Team here, has this level of national involvement commanding a fire complex happened to this scale?
So I believe the question was, have we had a national complex incident management team to this scale on the forest? Is that correct? Do I understand the question? Yes, we have. We did last year. Unfortunately, this area up in northeast Minnesota and Superior National Forest is used to having national incident management teams. We've since about 2021, we've gone through probably approximately between 12 to 15 teams. As far as national teams, the Jenkins Creek Camp House, prior to that in 21, the Greenwood Fire. So it's something that we know that we have assets to. When we get challenged both on the forest and within the state of Minnesota, we search out, we put the request in for some additional capacity. So certainly they've been here, they're getting used to being here, and we're not afraid to put those requests in for additional assistance.
Okay, one more question if we have one. All right.
Previously, there had been like a number of fires. Now we have the acreage that has been changing. Obviously, some of them emerged and then been contained. Is there
Yeah, so how many total fires do we have on the landscape right now?
So the question was, how many fires do we have on the total landscape? I would say it's safe to say between 24 to 26. Part of that is jurisdictional. So the Forest Service manages our fires, the state manages their fires, but we work very closely together and share assets across. So I would say, let's just call it 25. It's give or take one or two. And that number could be as high as 30. It's not going to go down today, but it could certainly increase. So we're doing everything we can to keep that number small as far as acreage goes, but hopefully we stay in that mark of 25 for the shift.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thanks for listening to live special coverage here on NPR News of the Northeast Minnesota wildfires. I'm Nina Moini. Officials in charge of fighting these fires that are taking up more than 60,000 acres in the Superior National Forest and the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness just gave an update on several key factors in trying to get these fires under some type of control. Our Matt Sepic has been following the updates today. He was in the room there in Ely. Thanks for being with us, Matt.
Hi there, Nina.
We know there are all these different fires that are burning that they're tracking, many of them in remote areas that it's hard for them to get to directly. What was your sense overall for the status of these fires?
Well, things seem to be holding steady here. The fires have not really grown much, and in fact, they put out a revised estimate. The incident now that they're calling the July lightning incident, because these fires started with lightning strikes in the Boundary Waters back about 2 weeks ago. They've put the total acreage in the U.S. At 63,000. That's down slightly from 70,000, plus another approximately 8,400 acres in Canada along the international border. I asked if that's because they've made progress putting the fires out, but in fact, it's just a better estimate. These numbers that you hear are estimates based on what they can figure out through satellite data, aircraft, and folks who are on the ground. And they were able to get a better look at things. Some of that smoke has cleared, and have revised the estimate of total acreage down to around 63,000 acres, as I say, in the U.S. I think the takeaway today is that, as I say, things are holding steady. I heard somebody say it's a good weather day. They had a little moisture come through. Any bit of moisture helps. Nobody's going to complain about that. But with that weather, you get wind. In the firehouse now at the ranger station, and I could feel a breeze coming through the open bay doors. I was telling somebody before the news conference started, feels nice, but it may be good for us, but certainly not good for firefighting efforts to have those breezes. And it's looking, around 20 miles an hour. That can kind of whip up flames. But the National Weather Service forecaster here, Carrie Flegel, said that some more moisture is expected this week. We had a little rain rumble through Ely last night.
And Matt, they also talked about some of these burning restrictions from the DNR. You mentioned the wind that they're concerned about. They talked about, I think it was Cook Lake, North St. Louis, Koochiching, Itasca, on these level 4 no campfires. But also they're talking about these permits to the BWCA being canceled through Friday at least. People are really itching, it sounds like, to get back out there. Businesses want people back out there. What was your sense for what's going on with the closure of the BWCA?
Well, we heard about this from Tom Hall. He's the Superior National Forest Agency Administrator, and he's the one who is, largely behind these decisions to cancel the BWCA permits. Yeah. And as we reported over the weekend, as you say, the permits are canceled through at least Friday. I talked with him last night at a community meeting here in Ely, and he answered some questions again about this today. And he says they're assessing the opportunity to reduce closures, meaning, touch and go. He's being using very diplomatic language here, not making any promises. Obviously, conditions can change with the weather. As fire incident managers say, weather started this, it's going to be weather that finishes it, and the weather will determine whether, didn't mean to say that pun there. the BWCA may open portions of it. Question from outfitters and other people traveling through the boundary waters or planning trips is the eastern end, which is largely away from the worst of the fires, which are in the western end of the BWCA.
Yeah.
Whether portions of the eastern part of the wilderness might reopen, and that's something that is under consideration. But as I say, no promises yet. As you mentioned, the campfire bans. Kurt Westerman from the DNR. Those went into effect today. Cook Lake, northern St. Louis County, Coochin County, part of Itasca County. So no campfires. There's restrictions on welding outside, all that sort of thing. You can use gas stoves, charcoal if it's at your house. But really, they're obviously trying to avoid any kind of open flames, anything where an ember could get loose and spark another fire.
And especially since we know a lot of these fires have been started by lightning, natural causes. So they're wanting people not to contribute to that. We heard about three firefighters, unfortunately, who we've heard have had some minor injuries as well. So it sounds like they really want everyone to help out. Last question for you, Matt. You mentioned the community meeting in Ely last night. They're going to be having some more community meetings in different areas, as we understand it, trying to make sure these fires don't get close to communities where a lot of people live, asking people to really have a plan for evacuation. Just give us a sense for safety in the area and what they're asking from folks.
Well, they're telling people to be ready. Now, they have not expanded any of the evacuation areas, but it's a good idea to keep an eye on the maps. One app that we have been using here and a lot of people in the community is called Watch Duty, app.watchduty.org. You can plug that into your browser or download the phone app. That has a lot of good up-to-date information, and you can get phone push alerts on there. And then St. Louis County Sheriff's Office has been updating its maps. Also, there are ready, set, and go zones. I talked to people who have already been evacuated in the last week, people who are in that set zone with belongings all packed up and ready to go. But officials are saying, even if you're not in one of those zones, things can change quickly. So have a plan, figure out where your important papers are, have that stuff ready to go if you need to leave at a moment's notice.
Absolutely. Thanks for keeping an eye on this, Matt, and stay safe, okay?
You're welcome.
Matt Sepic joining us. Thank you all for joining us. Of course, we'll have much more reporting on the very latest in the Northeast Minnesota wildfires coming up at 3 o'clock today on All Things Considered with Clay Masters. I'm Nina Moini. Thanks for listening to live special coverage on NPR News. We'll now join On Point in progress.
Programming is supported by the Shakopee Metawakan